Good morning and welcome. This is Marie Gibson with Gibson and Associates, a management consulting firm that helps busy business owners create, fine-tune, clean up their accounting systems. And I primarily focus on servicing clients with QuickBooks software. So I wanted to show you one of my favorite tools this morning when you're working with QuickBooks Desktop, and that's actually importing large lists into a new file. There's number of reasons why you might ultimately create a new file. If a client has a corrupt file that absolutely cannot be cleaned up, and yes, I just am dealing with one of those this week, having a corrupt file as in the data corruption and trying to hone in and fine tune that issue is very time consuming. Another client actually just has very messy records from a number of several years, and his company is regrouping and restructuring, and so they want a new file, but they'd like to keep their vendors, they'd like to keep their customers, they'd like to keep their items list, and of course with appropriate cleanup. So what we do is you can export those lists out of the old file and import into the new one, but one of the features in QuickBooks Desktop that I really like, and I wanted to show you this morning, I'm going to share my screen, is a great tool where you literally can export into Excel spreadsheets, customize your columns so that they're very similar to the, well, they'll have to be exact, not similar, to the columns that are in your new file. And then we literally cut and paste. And it's a fabulous tool that's in the desktop software. And I believe that a lot of people may not be familiar with it. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'll come in here into the QuickBooks software, and it's actually under lists, and we would add or edit multiple item lists. And at this point, you can select customers, vendors, service items. We're going to select inventory parts today because that's one of the most complicated. And as we look at this, we can see that I have my spreadsheet set up with particular items on the top of the columns, particular category, particular descriptions on the top of the columns. And I can actually then customize these columns by adding and subtracting, moving up or moving down. We want this in the new QuickBooks file to look exactly like the spreadsheet, if it's Excel or spreadsheet file of some sort that we're going to be cut and pasting from. So if I have these exact and I open up my Excel file, and if I open it here, and I can show you that I've created just a sample company, I've been using a sample company in the QuickBooks software, that these columns are exactly the same, exactly, not similar, exactly, as the columns that are in that QuickBooks software. Then I can come in here, I can copy these, and when I copy and I bring them in, I literally put my key, my mouse key in the top left-hand corner under item name. I can right-click and paste. That pastes that spreadsheet directly into my new QuickBooks file. And the red items are not something to be concerned or upset about. It's indicating that these are not set up in your new QuickBooks file. And so you would have to decide if this is a deposit, a customer deposit, actually is going to be a new account. You can see that it's an income account or an account. So as we would go ahead and walk through the process, we would see if that's an income account or if it's actually a current liability account, which a customer deposit, customer giving you an advance deposit would be a liability, not an income. And so we could add that, and we could make sure at this point in time that the other items are absolutely filled in correctly. Now, people get a little nervous where, oh my gosh, I have to have it exactly correct. I have to have every detail correct. Well, let's say that we go ahead and save these changes. And as we save the changes, it will tell me how many items came in correct. I have 3 errors that need to be fixed. And that was actually from a previous import. Inventory items with errors, inventory items without errors, inactive. But at this point in time, we're going to say thank you very much. We'll close this. Thank you. And what happens is as we go into our item list and we look at our item list, at any point in time, we can just double check these to make sure that everything is set up exactly the way we'd like. And one of the ways of double checking, of course, is to pull up, guess what? It's that list, edit or edit, add or edit. And when we go back into this area, inventory parts, it shows me exactly the detail that's behind every item that's in my item list in inventory, or in non-inventory, or inventory assemblies, or service items. So I could check my file repeatedly by looking to make sure that they're correct. If I don't want this particular item, indoor electrical wiring, posting to revenue in this area, let's say I have a specialty item for that particular, or specialty account for tracking that item, then I can change it at this point in time. If I don't want these purchases going to cost of goods, I want them going to a different cost of goods account, I can change here, save changes, thank you very much. And then of course, at any point in time, you know that when you have a list and we're looking at this, and we say, you know what, I brought that in, I don't really have it, I don't want to keep it. It's a real easy, what we would do is actually just go ahead and delete this item complete out. So my encouragement would be that you go ahead and use this tool, use this feature, and fine tune and hone your new company file before you get started. So again, I'm not going to make that inactive. We would need to bring that quantity down to 0. Let me give you, that was probably not a good example to pick as I just reached into the list, but the next one that I did, the items deleted, it's gone. So we don't have to deal with that. Same as if you're bringing in new vendors, or you're bringing in, not new vendors, but all your vendor lists or all your customer lists. Again, you try to clean up your list before you bring them in. But gosh, if you get somebody in there and they're not quite right, or the spelling's wrong, or, you know, and again, we try to get our lists relatively clean, but don't be, what I want to do is encourage you to just get it done, get going, get it moving. And if there's something in there that we don't want, we just delete it before we start using that new file. So thank you very much for listening. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.